Hey there, I'm Maggie,
And I'm Kate.
and this is our show, Honestly Though, with Maggie and Kate.
You're listening to season 1, where we're having more of the honest conversations that you won't find in corporate American settings or among polite company.
Every Wednesday for the next 10 weeks, we'll talk openly about common experiences that affect people at work and in life, but aren't usually talked about in business as usual environments.
You won't find a highly polished show in season 1, but we can promise that you're getting the raw and honest perspective of two solopreneurs who outgrew the status quo and are committed to thriving in this next season.
And the most important part is we're not really interested in talking at you. We want to talk with you, so you can join the conversation in the comments or send us a conversation starter for a future episode, and you can find all the ways to get involved in the show notes.
All right, let's get to it. It is episode 9 today, and as Maggie said last week when we had our first guest, I will say again this week as we are welcoming Cassie, our second guest, that I feel like a real podcaster having guests. So thank you, Cassie, for being here. And if you are listening to this podcast and you don't know Cassie, you need to. I refer to Cassie as our LinkedIn sweary godmother because when she said that about herself, it spoke to something deep inside me. So I will let Cassie tell you more about herself, more about what she does for work, all that good stuff. And then we will dive into today's episode.
So I'm Cassie, as Kate just said. I am a human design consultant, which is essentially, I refer to myself also as an authenticity archaeologist, because I was sent here with the express purpose of helping you figure out how to do things right this time, per my own life purpose. I work primarily with human design, which is a tool that's kind of a comprehensive system that basically tells you exactly what your soul came here to do and what skills, gifts you got to do it with. It's very, very comprehensive. It tells you how your energy functions so you can avoid burnout, tells you how to make decisions with confidence, tells you what environments you thrive in, what your primary sense is, what your life purpose is, which I don't know about y'all, but I spent 3 years whacking my head against the question of like, what is my purpose before I discovered human design? And I was like, oh, I've actually been doing it this whole time. So what ends up happening with most of my clients is they actually learn in a session with me that they're super great at being themselves, and the world has largely gaslit them about that. So I mentor women how to become menaces, essentially.
And I can speak from my experience with Cassie and my own human design session where like nothing that I learned was new, but also it was wildly new in terms of, but wait, that's what you should be doing. All the things that corporate always told me, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And that therefore I spent a decade trying to suppress because I was the sole breadwinner and wanted to do whatever corporate said, do that, don't do that, don't do that. Actually, those are the things that I need to do. And I am really good at doing them. And that is what caused me so much trouble. And so not that being myself caused me trouble, but being myself and believing people who said I should be less myself, that caused me a lot of trouble. So anyways, highly recommend Cassie for human design. It will really enlighten you, even though you might not be thoroughly surprised by everything you learn, but you may be enlightened and helped by the things you uncover.
I guarantee no one has ever presented such a comprehensive picture of the roadmap of what your soul came here to do in exactly the way that I will do it.
Oh, yeah.
My gift is words and pattern recognition. Unfortunately, I have ascended to the menace level myself. So I use those words as a bludgeon to like get you right with your path. Because I make it so abundantly clear that ignoring it then becomes an active choice.
Yeah. Yes. I can attest to that as someone who loves words. Cassie gave me a lot of words, and I ate them all up, and then I shared them with everyone I know. And I don't think I stopped talking about my session for like 2 weeks, and it was really fun for everyone in my life. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
still need to book mine. I definitely haven't done. I've had other people like give me little pieces of my human design chart. Like I've never had like a full blown like let's read the whole thing. It's always like, well, which part do you want to talk about? And then we just kind of, because they're trying to, get me a little more long term, and I don't have money. But but I will say, just from meeting Cassie and talking to her over however many months now we've been friends, like I feel like when I think of you, I think of confidence. And I just feel like if I need to feel confident in who I am and I need that like validation that it's okay to be myself, like you're the go-to person to be like, bitch, just be yourself, be a bad bitch, like be you, stop.
Yes.
And it like kind of like Kate was saying, nothing is like new that you say to me that's like, no, you are this and this is your strength. It's more just like those really obvious statements that you've probably thought before, but like somehow it clicks. It like actually the puzzle piece fits this time, even though you've looked at that piece 1,000 times and tried to put it in and it didn't work. Somehow it works now.
Or
And
other
it like
people told you to feel some type of way about that. Like one of my, so your superpowers in human design are the things where they're called channels, where you have both gates activated in different centers and those connect. One of my primary channels is the 3955 channel, which is the channel of emotions, emotional roller coasters, being able to navigate, being able to sit in the shit and just like work through it and just like know that if I'm at the bottom of the cycle, the top of the cycle's coming. Like I'm not stuck. I'm never stuck where I'm at forever.
yeah.
And like that's something inherently that I knew, and that like feeling my feelings, like I have been guilt tripped and gaslit my whole life for being too much. No, baby, I am exactly as much as I was supposed to be at all times.
It
And
kind of
like
like call back to the dishonest harmony episode of like everyone else is just pretending not to be themselves, and then they're trying to make you pretend not to be yourself so that everybody can just feel a little more comfortable and palatable. And it's like,
no.
what if we were all just aggressively ourselves and just found the people we liked and accepted that there's billions and billions of people and it's okay to not be everyone's cup of tea? I say that very hypocritically as somebody who wants to be everyone's cup of tea, but
We've had that
I'm
conversation,
working on
Maggie.
it.
Here's the thing about being palatable. I'm not here to be licked. I'm here to do the licking. So I don't give a fuck how I taste.
Yeah.
Like, frankly. Sorry to drop the F-bomb on your podcast.
I curse
I'm
all the
also the
time.
host of my own podcast, so I get on here and just wild out. I'm like, time for my opinions.
I love it.
See, and I
Please
feel like I
don't.
have that on like the whole like licked metaphor. Like reminds me of like growing up. I was always like the chubby friend, and I used to always tell people like, I don't mind getting dressed in front of other people. If you're looking at me and you don't like what you see, like that's your mental image that you have to deal with for the rest of your life. I don't care. But like eventually, obviously, all the things get to you and stuff. But like it was never. It was always my personality that actually got to me when people didn't like me. I was used to people not liking me, but yeah, it's
Not liking
that's
me
a
is
funny
free.
thing. 'Cause I'm
I'll
like
help
same.
you. Like,
So that's
I'm
awesome.
not allergic to not being liked. My
Yeah.
own mother doesn't like me, and so like that breaks something open in you where you stop caring.
Yeah.
Like I'm a walking pride flag macho man Randy Savage enthusiast. Like nothing here makes sense, friends. By design.
That's awesome.
By human
Okay,
design.
so this is really great, and I feel like we got a good little intro into human design here, and maybe we could go into more of it later. I think let's try to use the power of story and our lived experience to take some of these concepts that, for me, as someone who didn't know a lot about human design, I still don't. But sometimes these concepts seem kind of abstract and like, what does that actually mean? And like, whatever. So perhaps we can talk about our stories. And so, Cassie, I'm getting the sense from you, from how you're talking about your experiences, that like, do you have a story about corporate America wanted me to be this? And so I was, or have you always been the kind of person who brings your whole self to work? How does
I've never been able to leave any part of me behind, and it frequently has gotten me in trouble. I'm about 30 years into career now. And I've never had a job where like my personality didn't at some point become a point of friction.
Do you have a story that you're willing to share? I'm like curious,
Oh,
safely.
gosh.
Obviously, you don't need to
Okay, yes.
get
So
yourself in more trouble, but
I don't care about getting in trouble. I
see,
don't.
shout out. That's another reason I love Cassie. As you all know, I'm terrified of getting in trouble. And I'd be like, is it okay? And Cassie's like, bitch, do it.
I'm a grown up. Who's gonna get me in trouble? The president?
Well-
Like, there is no authority I acknowledge as being able to get me in trouble. I am my own personal god.
Were you on my post, I don't think last week maybe, about like, when do we start to feel like a real adult? 'Cause I'm like, I don't think I am a grown up.
On
think
paper,
I'm a
and they
little
let me
tiny
sign
child.
contracts. That's on them.
I think I grew up when I was 12 and I've just been 12 my whole life. So I was such an, like such an old soul. Grew up, really had to like self-sufficiently handle my shit and my emotions. And I'm like very independent as a child. And now as an adult, I'm like, I want to be a kid still. So anyway,
Very
I want to hear a
much.
story from you about how did you show up and how'd you get in trouble?
To ground this in human design, so my profile is I'm a 5/1, which means that I am always on my Mr. Rogers shit. If I don't see a helper, I'm trying to be a helper. I am also always info gathering. The 5 part means I'm a natural leader who is not afraid to ask very uncomfortable questions directly to power for the express purpose of making things clear and transparent for everybody involved.
And they hate
So
that.
at my last job, I'm at a big tech company. I'm in a learning and enablement department. And in a town hall, I raised my hand and I asked the director a question. The question is, in the last half, 80% of your direct reports have been out on burnout leave. That feels like a really high trend. Are we aware of what's causing that? And what are we doing to mitigate it? The director looked at me and said, we don't have a burnout problem.
Boy.
Now, who wants to guess how long before that director was out on burnout leave?
Within 6 months.
9. It was 9.
Damn.
Then while she was out, the entire department got SaaSpocalypsed.
Damn.
Not as in no small part due to a refusal to acknowledge what were very clear and present issues in how the department functioned. They kept us from being maximally effective.
So
that were things like leaders refusing to acknowledge a clear burnout problem in leadership.
okay, so in my experience, people that do what you did there, they get in. They actually do get in trouble, such as retaliation or what. Why did that not happen to you? Or well, I mean, I know you said you got SaaSpocalypse as a whole department, but like, why were you not individually targeted? Do you think?
Because I had done it so publicly that anything that fell back on me the connection would have been created in all of my colleagues' minds.
Yeah.
Also, I just kind of have a reputation for doing stuff like that. There was another time at that same company that the head of startups, the head of an entire org in the company, wrote a blog, the title of which was Maybe a Mayor Doesn't Deserve Our Hackathon. The hackathon was entirely voluntary, and this was right at the point that ICE was kicking off with all of their bullshit in the US. And so I left comments on the blog that said, expecting people to come out of their house for a remote first company when ICE is on the streets prowling for people to snatch is like a wildly cold take. I got pulled into employee relations. I got pulled into a meeting with that head of startups because he knew after I left comments, I got a DM from him immediately that said, I think I fucked up. Can we hop in a Zoom? And I was like, yeah, you sure did. Like, here's where here are the gaps you need to mitigate in this ice cold take. And here's how you need to mea culpa it to try and walk this back. And then I later ended up in a conversation with employer relations about where I refused to delete the comments. I was like, I'll strike through them and put employee relations would like me to rephrase this as, but I'm not deleting them because I said what I said. So
I have so much respect for that. I love that so much. That is, I'm very similar to you in some ways. I'm just also much not anymore, I guess, but for most of my career, like wanted to be you and was you on the inside and could not. And that's like doing myself a bit of a disservice. I mean, every job I've ever had, I've always, I've gone to HR before to say the thing that everyone else was saying. I've, or that everyone else was thinking, but no one else wanted to say. I've done that. For me, I just always, as Maggie and I were talking about on a episode a few weeks ago, I picked my battles. And
Yeah.
and unfortunately, I picked like way too few of them. And so like I didn't go far enough. I mostly chose avoidance. And so I would leave before I would do that, even though within me was always that. And that caused a level of anxiety and stress in every role I was in because I was holding back from saying these things that needed to be said and that I saw. And then also I was getting angry at everybody else for not listening to the things I wasn't saying, which is just wildly not fair and ineffective. But it was for me, like I understood who corporate America wanted me to be. I also understood who my family, not my husband didn't understand a lot of what I was dealing with within corporate America. He didn't get it. Like he
Right.
sympathized, but he just didn't really believe maybe that it was like as extreme as what I was saying, or that I had as much reason to be afraid as I did. Like I think he was like, it's fine. You're just choosing not to say anything. And it's like, no, I can't, because we are relying on me for health insurance right now. We are relying on me to pay this mortgage right now. And I know if I say something, then that is going to go away. And I don't know what else we're going to do. So anyways, yeah, I feel like for me, listening to you talk, that's a lot. I see so much of myself in that. I just wasn't able to ever bring that entirety to my work until the last year, when it finally just became to such a point where I was just like, well, I was so far backed into a corner and backed against the wall that I was like, okay, well, this is who I am, and you're just going to see her now because I have nothing else to lose.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people fall into that trap, and I think it's part of the reason why companies and American culture and whatever, every system that there is, it's why so many people stay stuck for so long. Like for a lot of people, they really do have to get backed into a corner where they feel like they have nothing else to lose before they're willing to bring their entire self to work. And I passionately want to change that. I just don't know how.
Yeah.
It's a micro revolution every time somebody like me shows up in a Zoom.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
genuinely. Because every time I show up, the thing I consistently have gotten throughout my entire career is you being you makes it feel safe for me to be me.
Yeah.
Like,
I
it's
always
why
say
I'm not
too,
here
it needs to
cosplaying
come
as a
from the
gay
higher up.
lighthouse.
Yeah.
Like, it's the biological principle of aposematism. I want predators in the wild to know, buddy, I'm not safe for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a literal danger to your existence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, don't come over here and try some shit. And so, like, it is scary. Like, it is scary to be me, to show up, to be loud, to be, like, expanded in my full, essence of humanity or whatever. But also, I am so well practiced at blowing my life up to the studs. And I am so deeply committed to quantum entanglement and the understanding that nothing that's meant for me will miss me. So, like,
Can I ask you, like, did you feel like it was kind of a thankless role for, like, if you're always the one kind of speaking up for the team and speaking up for the betterment, and like, did how do you prevent that from weighing on you? Because I feel like that was part of my resentment, is feeling like, why am I always the one who has to fucking fight the battle? Like,
because other people can't give themselves permission to stand up and advocate.
so is that just like, that's how you kind of like cope, for lack of a better word? Because I feel like I was always like in that gray area where like I was willing to call things out, but I would always really sit on it and think about it and present it in like a professional way. Like I always like downplayed the things when presenting it to like leadership so that I could be the voice, but also not ruin my chances of being, brought up the ladder. Like it was a very intermediate role, but I still feel like even doing that, the resentment built, and I felt like I was risking so much. So, like, how do you cope? If it kind of sounds like you don't need to, you just have different inner critics than me too. But
So
like, yeah,
the reason I have different inner critics is I spent it was a several year, multi-year project to like listen into my inner critic, figure out whose voice that actually was, because it was never mine. It was
yeah,
always my inner child parroting something they had heard, because exposure equals vulnerability equals pain in
yeah,
my inner child's worldview. But it's literally just a matter of consistently every time she tries to like the inner critic tries to pop up with something, it is visualizing myself at 8 years old and being like, babe, I love you. You don't have to carry this. We have 100% track record for getting through even the worst shit that's happened to us. So any consequences that happen as a result of this thing I'm about to do, I know we're equipped to handle, and there's something we need to learn from that.
yeah,
Like, no one gets a pain-free life.
right,
And by letting other people choose the pain by keeping yourself small, you're just handing all of your agency away. I choose my pain.
yeah.
Like,
So you
I
still
know I'm gonna
choose your
say some
battles,
wild
but
shit.
you're just more equipped for battles. It sounds like at this point in
Also,
time.
as a 5/1, like literally fives have such a massive, because we're natural leaders, we have such a massive projection field that like people project shit onto us. I've been pedestalized my entire life and then knocked right the hell off the second somebody realizes I'm a real human with my own actual needs. And I'm not here to just serve whatever purpose you're trying to utilize me for.
Yeah, I relate to
So
that.
like,
Yeah. Yeah, this is really interesting. I think and I think too, like getting to the heart of who you are and understanding your human design doesn't mean not everyone is Cassie. Not everyone should
yeah,
aspire to be Cassie. Not everyone can show up in meetings the way Cassie is. Not everyone ought to. And
yeah.
so it's that is I I struggle with feeling like I always am put in positions where I must be the bigger person. And I'm like, Stop
Always.
doing that. I
I'll
don't
take us
want
both through hell. Mm-mm.
yeah. Well, yeah. Um, okay. So there's something there. Like, but for me, like that's where the resentment comes. I don't remember the term that was used, but like I remember when I first started speaking up last year on LinkedIn and I was really vulnerable and really exposed. Um, People would send me DMs that I appreciated. I really did appreciate them because most of the people in my inner circle, everyone that I had worked with, I followed people around in my career, people that I felt safe enough with. Like I learned them and then I was like, okay, I can play business with you. And so I followed those people around. And then also my family system and my friendships and whatever all operated with similar rules. And so when I first started speaking up, it felt like everyone was against what I was doing because that's not how any of them operate. And so I felt like I was alone. So when I first started showing up as my actual self on LinkedIn and receiving messages from people who saw me and could relate and who agreed and didn't feel the way my inner circle did, that was really meaningful to me. It had a huge impact on me and it helped me keep going. And also, I would get really frustrated with then join me, please, because I am exposed. I am out here doing that and I'm getting my head cut off. And like watching Mitch do that in his workplace, my husband, and everyone behind the scenes was like, "Thank you so much for saying that to management." But then when push came to shove, they wouldn't also say anything to management because they were
Mhm.
protecting themselves. And he got his
Yeah.
head cut off, and we lost our house, our apartment, and we had to move across the country into my dad's basement. And like, where are you? Where is everybody? So for
Yeah.
me, that's a little bit of the tension. Is like I I don't know. I know everyone can't do. I have certain gifts. I have certain strengths, and I have a certain way and a certain purpose that not everyone shares, and I understand that. But it's such a
It's still
struggle
frustrating.
to not let that like eat at you and create resentment and anger.
Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to, like, ask of, like, that's how I feel. I feel like I'm always the one and everybody's so grateful for me, and it's like, when the fuck can I just sit back and somebody else fights for me? Why is it always either I fight or there is no fight? And to your point, it's like everyone's so grateful, and it's like, okay, and it almost feels more isolating. Like, even though it's meant to be empowering, I think it sometimes just really builds up. And yeah, so I'm glad you can relate, Kate. And I'm jealous that Cassie's like, well, I have this strength in me.
No, it's I can't live with myself if I don't say the thing.
Yeah, and
I am
that's
unwilling
where
to let
my self-hate
anxiety
comes in.
eat
Because
me
then my
alive.
authenticity is being questioned, and yeah, and then my integrity is in question, and then I'm like mad at myself when I don't choose the battle because I'm like, oh, I should have done it, but at a certain point I get so exhausted doing it that it's like, yeah, it's like a choice between like, do I abandon myself, quote unquote, in this moment and not choose the battle, knowing that's gonna build up over time? Or do I fight this battle knowing that's gonna also wear on me over time? Like, no matter what, it's draining my energy. And it goes back to Kate's point. Like, I wish more people would just be themselves and be more honest and more like confrontational for the sake of long-term resolution, because it's like, then I wouldn't feel like I'm always the one. I think it'd be less draining if other people were meeting my energy the way I'm giving it. But that's why I love you guys, because we can all have these talks and be all very on, and it's not it's not draining.
I say all the time that like our only way out of this is for everyone to get aggressively clear on their lane and then commit to it. Because
Yeah.
people who are so deeply enmeshed in their own passions and loving their own life aren't worried about what the neighbors are doing. Like you
Yeah, I'm
just
not
don't
starting
have
shit with the
time.
neighbor.
Like the reason everyone's up everyone else's ass is because everyone is so focused on being good and doing the right thing instead of just leaning into what you're naturally called to be doing.
Yeah.
Most people are making life so much harder than it needs to be. It really should be joyful and following your bliss. Like it sounds Pollyanna, but I need people to understand you've been socialized to think it should be hard because keeping you in survival mode benefits the powers that be.
I was just about to ask why you think that is, but I think that answers that. It's because we've been socialized to not question it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say too that something that has helped me, I feel a lot less anger and resentment and judgment towards the kinds of people that send me appreciation behind the scenes and don't rise in the same way. I'm much less anger and resentment and judgment toward those people, although it's still there because I'm human. But for me, what's helped me get past it is seeing what happens on the other side. It broke me knowing Mitch's coworkers agreed with him and wouldn't stand up with him. And it sucked in the short term to lose our apartment and have to move and whatever. And also, he is in an infinitely better position now. I am no longer scared every morning when he goes to work. He does not come home mentally drained with nothing left to give to his family. That is real. And he is the only one of those people in that shop who gets to say that. The rest of them are still there and they're still suffering. And so that
And they feel like they
sucks.
have no
But
choice.
yeah, but so, and then, for me, I'm about to start a new job in 3 weeks, and I'm going to get to spend all day around books and with kids, and I get to say whatever the hell I want to corporate America, and I don't have to care because I'm not working there anymore, and I'm not trying to work for any of these companies that are operating that way right now. I'm building something that's mine. I'm doing work that aligns with who I am. And if I had so getting to the other side and seeing what's there has made me realize, number one, that not everyone can do it in the same way that Mitch and I did. Also, they don't need to. They need to find their lane, like Cassie said. And also, it often feels, because it is in the short term, really expensive. But in the long term, you're actually going to benefit from being yourself and taking the stance that you need to take 100%. And that's helped me let go of the resentment and anger.
Yeah.
And a thing that people discount a lot too is the health impacts that you are taking on from creating an incongruent internal and external experience. That bill comes due
Yes.
Yeah.
at the end of your career when you are having a heart attack at 52 years old because you've put everyone else in what they needed and being good and doing it right first. No, absolutely not. I will not sacrifice one iota of the body I built using fried chicken to like somebody else's bottom line. No, I
Yeah.
refuse to make I refuse to make numbers go burr for tech bros anymore. They're dumbasses. They can figure it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I simply couldn't be fucked.
Yeah.
So what is, I guess, where my mind goes now is like, we have all basically tried out corporate America and decided, that's not really for me. And we're not really there anymore. We just have all these like past experiences. What about those who are stuck in corporate or feel stuck or, like what? Because now I kind of feel like we're all hypocrites because we're like, yeah, just be yourself. But it's because we all left and we all can be ourselves. And we have this, like, I've created a safe space for myself to find myself and reconnect. And like, I have my friend group, I have my work group. I've created this bubble now where I can do that, but I have friends still stuck in the 9 to 5 that now I feel like this disconnect where I don't know how to help them as much. I don't know what to say to them other than like, have you thought about leaving? Like, have you thought about like, finding that passion and chasing it? Cause like, I don't know anyone who's passionate about their 9 to 5. I don't know anyone who is. I know those who fake it really well, but yeah, either of you, like, what advice can we give to those who want to be more themselves, but, maybe it's not safe to do so?
So,
There's
Cassie,
no
before you
gold.
speak, I want to say one thing because I disagree with one thing that my co-host here said.
Okay.
I do not feel like we are hypocrites. No, I feel like we are living our authentic expressions. And just because we have found a better way for ourselves does not mean we are hypocrites.
That's fair. Hypocrite might not be the right word.
You
I
don't
just
have to
like
stay in a system that doesn't serve you.
it feels like somebody who like became a millionaire and then is like talking to the minimum wage employees about like how to become a millionaire. And it's like there's still such a disconnect between where they are and where, and like, that's how I feel talking to some people. Because I had people when I quit, I had people who were making 5 times as much as I was. And I know this because I was in payroll and they're DMing me like, I'm so jealous. Like, I wish I could take that leap and pursue this passion and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I bet you could. Like, I guarantee if I could do it with only making less than 55K a year, like, you were in the 6 figures, I promise you can. But they don't feel that way. So it's like,
But that's them.
I don't
That's
know.
on them.
Yeah, but what
Not
advice
on
can we give them? Because clearly it's not just them I feel like it shows how deep it is, where they can't even fathom leaving and taking a risk for a month even. And then we're out here like, just be yourself, just be, and it's like, how can we help them start to cross that bridge if that's what they want to do? For those listening who are like, man, these girls are so cool. Like, I wish I could, chase my dreams. Like, other than just saying you can, like, what else can we
Not
give them?
being yourself doesn't save you. You will be so much more pissed off when you get laid off because you did everything right. You followed all the rules. You answered that Teams message when you were at the dentist. You skipped rehearsals and pickups and put your kids in daycare. You're going to be so angry when somebody who doesn't even know your name decides you're expendable and you wasted all of that energy being good. Gross. There is no set of behaviors that will completely insulate you from negative impacts of existing within corporate. If you're choosing to play in that ball field, you are subject to the rules and regulations of that game. They are in control of that game. You are in control of who you are and how you show up every day. Might there be consequences? Sure. Have you never played butthole origami any other way? There are uncomfortable consequences for a lot of stuff that we do in our lives. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. And in fact, some of the most unhinged things that you will do that will lead to some of the most painful consequences in your life actually turn out to bloom into the most beautiful bouquet of experiences that you didn't see at the beginning because all you saw was the thorn part of the bouquet.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're never sent anything that you can't get through. You'll get through it or it'll kill you. Like, I'm a bit of an optimistic nihilist that way. It cracks my therapist up. I'm like, I'll figure it out or I'll die. I don't know. But genuinely,
Yeah.
death is the only consequence that actually matters. And I don't really even believe in that because consciousness is a one-to-one thing. But anyway, quantum immortality is real. But death is the only real consequence. And so, like, if it's not immediately going to lead me to death, maybe going to try it just to see what happens. Because you don't know.
Yeah. And like hearing that, I just imagine those who are like paycheck to paycheck are like, it kind of is life or death because
Yeah.
fighting back against the status quo or quitting to go out on your own, kind of like we are talking about in past few episodes, like you lose your health insurance, you lose, and depending on your situation, that might be life or death. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I hear you,
Feeling
Maggie, and I want to underline that because it's
it's
real,
a trap.
and I think that's the tension point. That I mean, there are when I look back at the woman that I was and the way I was showing up 6 years ago, 8 years ago, all of these things are nice. I knew them, sort of like I knew them in theory. I did not understand what they actually mean in practice, and I did not, and they didn't really ring true. I thought they were a lie, actually, and that is because I needed health insurance. I needed it.
Yeah.
I needed to bring money home for my children. I didn't, however, it was false that my only choices were that or having none of those things, being homeless and not having food on the table and not having health insurance. That was false. It was a lie. It was not real. And I have more privilege than most. I have a daddy whose basement I can land in, and my kids are fine. And not everyone has that. And I understand that. I think to those people, I would say you can also remember that your work and the things that you have to do and the ways that you whatever, you don't have to go all in. You don't have to give them your all. You don't have to make yourself sick. You don't have to, like, you can have both. You can protect yourself. You can go to work, get the paycheck, do the things you need to do to survive while you're building to get out. These things are things you can do. So it's not like black and white binary, like this or that or whatever.
Also, I would wager not enough of us are playing the numbers game. The average people ops and HR team, even in a large company, is only so big.
Yeah.
If every single one of us was 10% more unhinged and we just ratchet that up a little bit every quarter, like, you don't have to come, balls out your whole self like tomorrow.
Right.
But like maybe
Ease in.
wear a funnier tie, get a weird belt buckle, get something that like actually reflects your real personality, and just like encourage your coworkers to do the same. I'm telling you, HR is as exhausted as y'all are. They can't quell a revolution. That's like it only takes about 10% of us going a little off the rails to make real change happen.
Yeah.
Can I ask y'all one question? I feel like we're almost at time, so I want to get this in. I'm curious, especially you, Kate, based on what you just shared, but I feel like Cassie probably has an answer too. What? So you went from being like, these are my two options, basically, and then realizing, oh, there are secret third, and there are other options. What helped you realize there were more possibilities than just losing my health insurance or staying here forever? What was the block, I guess, that you worked through in order to realize there were other possibilities? My mind thinks mine was pride related, but I feel like there's more than that.
So I think mine was pride related too. Actually, I had to let go of the vision that I was sold of what a good life is and what it ought to look like. So I was living in Chicago, where I am again now, in corporate America, doing just fine. I moved to North Carolina. I bought a large house and put a white picket fence around it. It was seriously like gross American dream shit.
Textbook.
Okay. And I was like, I've made it. And then North Carolina changed me. I began gardening. I had a relationship with Mother Earth for the first time. I started being like, what the fuck are these priorities? And I had kids and I was like, what the fuck world am I leaving to them? What am I do? What is all of this for? And when that tension reached such a point for me where I was like, wait, I don't need if I don't need this 4-bedroom house and this acre of land and this white picket fence. I don't even want it. Actually, what I want is time with my kids, and I want to teach them the skills that they're going to need to know for the future of the world that they're going to live in. And then I had to say, so what does that mean? And I had to think outside of the box. Well, if I don't want the American dream I was sold, then what do I want? And as soon as I started asking those questions, then I was like, well, how do I get closer to that? And for me, it meant selling my house when the market was good right there during COVID, and I sold my house and I used the equity to buy an RV, and I did something that everyone told me was bananas. Lived in a 250 square foot space with 2 kids and 2 cats and a husband. They were like, you are nuts. That is not a childhood. What are you doing to your children? Well, turns out my children had an incredible childhood. They did so many things I never did as a kid. They've experienced so much of the world. It's amazing. It's incredible. And I just kept doing that. I just kept saying, society says I should want that. I don't though. What do I want? And then just kept following it. And now I'm here.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Questioning the status quo. I feel like, I mean, if you know me, you probably know I preach this all the time, but like, yeah, like slowing down and questioning where those desires come from is so eye-opening. Like, not work related for me, but my personal life. I had a lot of those epiphanies of like, oh, I've always wanted this thing because my mom wanted me to want it. And then I realized I've never actually questioned that. I've just internalized it and realized like, I remember now little pieces of me that have gotten like repressed because it's like, no, that's not you. You should do this. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess this is me. But like, no, that was me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really beautiful.
Any
do you
last
have an
words,
answer too,
Cassie?
Final last words.
If you're into podcasts, come check mine out, the Unapologetic podcast. If you want to book a human design reading, Human Design by Cass. If you need some weird Macho Man Randy Savage art, I also can do that. I also do witchcraft. Do you need me to hex a man? I got you.
That's amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you, Cassie, for being here with us. Please reach out to Cassie. We'll change your life. I promise. If you let
100%.
Cassie change your life, though, you got to be open.
Oh, no, me entering your life is, in fact, the canon event. It's unstoppable after that point.
I love that. All right. Well, great being here with you guys, and we will see you next week.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Honestly, though, with Maggie and Kate. We're being so honest about the fact that we really want you to join the conversation.
Drop us a comment, email us a question, or submit a conversation starter for a future episode. You can find out how down in the show notes. See you next week.